we have a new projection that will have the Cavaliers lose their Sixth Man of the Year candidate to a Western Conference team after only getting paid just under $3 million. This guy is on the verge of being paid a big contract by a team, and it's looking like it will not be the Cavaliers. I'm Matt Palangi here at Cavs Digest. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope everyone had a good week, and I'm really, really excited to push out more content. Just keep it coming. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button because there's so much going on with the Cavs. Billy's posting great videos. I'm doing my best here as well, and it's so hard to keep up with everything that happens in free agency. There's been a lot of rumors, a lot of reports. Some seem more official than others, but we do share as much as we can. Basically everything with you guys, so go ahead and hit the subscribe button. So let's talk about who the Sixth Man of the Year candidate for the Cavs was. Yes, he came in third behind Malik Beasley and Peyton Pritchard. But who was he? What value did he bring to the Cavs? Where was his negative value? Where was he at his worst? And what is going to happen with him in free agency? So here we go. Ty Jerome predicted to leave Cavaliers for Kings. This is Sam Amico tweet, who we've used as a source a lot around here. But this was also a prediction made by Brian Windhorst, who I'm going to quote a little bit. And you're going to see that in this video. Something that he quoted. Another person that loves talking about the Cleveland sports teams, of course. Brian Windhorst. Just the guy, of course. Just that guy, man. And so this is the prediction we have to leave for the Kings. And, of course, we just talked about DeMar DeRozan. We talked about Darius Garland to the Kings for what I would hopefully be Domantas Sabonis. And now we're here at Ty Jerome, another person that is looking like just another time where the Kings are in the talk. So I guess it's Kings-Cavs offseason right now, because that's all that I see right now is stuff about the Kings. But it makes sense, and this is why. Because Darius Garland is going to be harder to acquire for the Cavaliers' asking price and because of his contract. While they could just go ahead and pay Ty Jerome like whatever they want. They don't have to trade for him. Plus, I think the Cavs are more likely to want to lose Ty Jerome anyways, and we'll talk about that right here. The Cavs will worry of losing him and fellow key reserve free agent Sam Merrill. I talked about that in a video a little bit ago. A shooting specialist who could have suitors as a fellow unrestricted free agent. Jerome, who was on a $2.5 million deal this past season with the Cavaliers, is in line for a very hefty raise from that number, sources said. Windhorst and Butts Hems wrote, the expectation around the league is that it will take the full mid-level exception, roughly $14.1 million, to get Jerome signed. Cleveland, however, is hoping to get him to return for a bit less, sources said, as it attempts to navigate through the second luxury tax apron and the team building challenges that go along with it. So it seems like the Cavs, if they do try to get Ty Jerome, it would have to be for something around $10 million at the most. Of course, there's that $14 million price, but you have to kind of look at what the downside to him, and if teams offer him 14 plus mil, then if I'm Ty Jerome, I'm taking it. I understand he might want to stay with the Cavs and might want to try to go free fire it, but I doubt the Cavs can offer that $14 million price that he's likely going to get offered. So now we're again talking about Mr. Ty Jerome, who brought a big negative to the playoffs this year that we talked about. This specifically, just if you just see the shooting, this and the points from the games, it's just bad. The 1 for 14 game that you see, it's just not quite. It's just not there. You know, the 1 for 14. It's the second game from the bottom. 8 for 20, 1 for 8. His ball, when he had a start in replace of Darius Garland, when Darius Garland didn't want to play, he just was not quite there as a ball handler. And it seemed like the Pacers exposed him as a primary ball handler. Like, he wasn't able to do it. And that's my biggest issue is, can the Cavs offer him $14 million for that? I don't think they can. I mean, for that? 1 for 14? I love Ty Jerome and what he did. Let's look at his regular season stats and his Sixth Man of the Year campaign. 12.5 points per game on 44% shooting, which is actually out of this world. That is elite. He was close to 50-40-90, which is 50% from the field, 40% from three, and 90% from the free throw. He just couldn't quite hit the free throws. But he was an elite sharpshooter for them. Was genuinely shooting from wherever. Like, this guy had the green light to shoot. He said, you know what? I'll just shoot from here. Why not? Give me those. 3-bang. That's what he did. And he was also very, very clutch for them, too. Like that was a consistent thing for him. Ty Jerome was willing to shoot from wherever. He was willing to make from wherever. And I loved what he did in the regular season. It just came down to the playoff performances. My biggest thing with the Cavs is they actually looked vulnerable at points in the regular season, like against Atlanta when they lost, I believe, 3 or 4 straight games the second half of the season. They looked vulnerable, and Ty Jerome was one of those guys where I was like, this is the X factor for the Cavs. He never really seemed like someone that was going to be that guy that could take over and go for 30. He went for 30 in the regular season. He went for 20-something in the playoffs and in the regular season multiple times. I remember the game in November against the Pelicans, and that was like, dude, like, this guy's like that. But that playoff performance of 1 for 14, just unacceptable. 8 for 20, 1 for 8. It's just not going to work for Mr. Ty Jerome, and of course Tyrese Halliburton torched this guy. And then in Game 5, the elimination game where we lost at home, Ty Jerome didn't play until the third quarter. Kenny Atkinson did not trust him. He came in and he played well. The problem is like he was in a position where he was getting punished for his lack of great play. But he came in, and that's what I love to see. He came in, brought good energy, and hit big shots. Kenny Atkinson was probably, like, yep, that's why we punished you. You had to prove yourself. But let's continue talking about the reports themselves. Kind of about the Kings. So the Kings, we talked about how it seemed like there was they were looking to trade DeMar DeRozan, and there was a projection about how DeMar DeRozan could become a Cavalier. I think that would be absolutely stupid because what do we want? A mid range scorer like that DeMar DeRozan is maybe the worst fit possible for the Cavs. I'm just going to be honest. Like that guy has no role on the Cavaliers. Of course, DeRozan's solid player. Has been great his whole career. Pretty consistent scorer. Just not on the Cavaliers. That's it. But yeah, the Kings currently, we talked about Sabonis. Now, if they were to get Ty Jerome, so they lost De'Aaron Fox, who was like a top 10 point guard in the league. They lost him at the trade deadline to the Spurs. So they've been looking for a point guard desperately. Instead, they went out and got Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, who literally didn't work out in Chicago together. So let's just repair them back in Sacramento. I don't know what they were thinking with that. Malik Monk's actually a beast, but that's all they really have. They have Sabonis, they have Monk, they have a couple, Keegan Murray, like they have a couple younger guys, but they lost their star point guard. Emphasis on star because he was just really, really good. I don't know if he was a superstar, but De'Aaron Fox is a great player. They lost him to the Spurs, and the trade deadline. So they've been looking for a point guard, and the biggest thing was Darius Garland at first. It seemed like they were interested in trying to get Darius Garland, and that they might make calls for Darius Garland, but I doubt the Cavs are going to accept anything because the value of Darius Garland is not comparable to anyone else except Domantas Sabonis, and the Kings are not going to get rid of Domantas Sabonis, and if they did, that'd be great, but it seems like Darius Garland is less likely, so it comes down to if Ty Jerome is going to be bringing up value to them at the point guard position. Personally, I think he'd be good for them. I think the Cavs are going to try and sign Ty Jerome, but it would just have to be for a specific price due to his lack of playoff performance, as we showed here. 1 for 14, 1 for 8, 8 for 20. Just stuff like that is just not going to work in the playoffs at all. But, of course, his regular season, you're like, you might not be too impressed when you look at this stuff. Like 51, 40, 43, like 99. Like, it seems like 51, 43, like 43-9 is like, people don't think this stuff's like great, but it's phenomenal. Like this guy was a star, and it wasn't even just like the consistent stats, like these stats specifically. It was also just the fact that he was having big games. Like he was going for the upwards of 20 points. He was going for the upwards. He was going for the low end of 30 points sometimes. Like these were consistent from him. Like he was having big games. He was being a takeover player, and that's what we needed from a backup point guard. Problem is, it does seem like they're going to lose him right now. So of course, I haven't mentioned any guys here that I think they could get because I'm going to let free agency settle a little bit. I think that they could go ahead and draft somebody. I think that that Koby Altman should consider looking at some of his guys at the top of the G League, maybe some of the guys that in the second round, unless they trade those second round picks. If they do trade those second round picks, which I made a video on, go check that one out, of course. And if they do trade those second round picks, then they could try to get something outside of value, like for Isaac Okoro and a pick or two, and maybe get a point guard that is better at Ty Jerome at controlling the ball, having the ball in his hands, someone that is able to score, but also just be a primary ball handler, which Ty Jerome looked like he was a secondary ball handler, and then in the playoffs he got exposed bad. But I take that with a grain of salt because everyone was a little bad in the playoffs, let's be honest here. But anyways, that's going to be it for me here at Cavs Digest. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Comment below, what do you guys think? Do you guys think Ty Jerome is going to remain a Cavalier next season, and do you want him to? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, I appreciate you guys. Comment, like, subscribe, share with your friends, and thank you guys for joining me.